Welcome everybody. My name is Sjoerd Alkema. I'm the Head of Professional Services and Solutions at Xillio. Let me start with quickly introduce myself. I've got a strong background in enterprise content management. I've worked with Unisys and Capgemini in ECM consultancy. The last years of my Capgemini time, I was responsible for our ECM practice in the Netherlands and responsible for the proposition. So working a lot with all the ECM vendors out there on what the best proposition would be to deliver to the market, what was happening in the market, etc. So I know the market quite well. Now 2 years already at Xillio, responsible for our professional services team. Xillio is a software company that have created a platform for content migration and integration, and also have a separate business unit for services delivering migrations and integrations all over the world. Some details about the webinar. So if you can't hear me via the computer, you can also dial in. So 2 audio options, voice over IP and dial in. As per the already mentioned, questions can be submitted in the webinar chat box, or if you want or something comes up later, you can always send it through an email to webinar@xillio.com, and we will respond to that swiftly if we receive them. The agenda for today. So having done the introduction, I want to go towards the ECM market view next, because of course the future of Documentum is within the context of the ECM market. So I want to talk about what's happening and what we see as important trends. Then the acquisition of Documentum by OpenText. We will talk on that and our vision on that. Next, the future of Documentum. So what about Webtop, XCP, D2, all the Documentum products? What about that? We identify 3 scenarios. We'll talk about those. Within those scenarios, we will also go into more detail in migration scenarios and integration scenarios and how we approach those. We'll end with a summary and of course some time for questions. So the ECM market, what's happening there? Or maybe we should say content services, platforms and applications market, because that is how Gartner recently stated that the ECM market is going to be need to be called. Reinventing ECM, introducing content services. We see the same already happening some years, that the idea of a central content management system, it no longer is really possible. So the dynamical needs of organizations, the different applications out there, it's all based on what you want to do with the content and not just managing it. So we see that ECM maybe indeed actually isn't the word anymore. And this has, I think, I mean, it's just a word, of course, content services or just wording, but we see this as an important trend in the ECM market or in the content services market. Something that kind of goes along with that is what mFiles stated as the future of ECM. mFiles is an ECM player from Sweden, and they say, well, we know we can't have all the content processes of an organization in our system, but what we do offer is an intelligent metadata layer and access to the different repositories that are out there. So, for instance, you have a Documentum repository where all your bills end up that are scanned in by your organization. Then mFiles will can give you access through their system to that Documentum repository, Also having the ability to add metadata within the scheme that is there in mFile. So you have one metadata layer over all your content, but still having the content in the separate repositories. And I think that indeed is the future of ECM. Another thing that's really disrupted the traditional ECM vendors and the traditional thinking, and I think also initiated the content services thoughts, is the enterprise file sync and share market. I mean, it's so easy to get them, it's so easy to use, it's all cloud-based, and they are next to the traditional ECM systems. That really disrupted it. So the ECM vendors, the large ones, they tried to incorporate, didn't really work because of course they had a lot of traditional on-premise installations, which make it difficult, and this really disrupted it, and I think will generate a need for integration more than ever. So we can say we are moving away from the traditional management of content, and where there was too much focus on the repository as the solution for all. And I did it myself as a consultant years ago, doing enterprise content management projects with OpenText, with IBM FileNet, saying here you have a product and everything has to be part of that. Every content process you need to create within that solution. It's just not doable. And the focus is not on just storing content in the enterprise and how we do it, but it's really on purely on how content is used. That's a big shift in how we think on content. So, and as a conceptual picture of a content services architecture as we see it, I created this. So you have a lot of different content applications, if you wish. So collaboration, doc sharing with clients, search, finance, sales. They are all apps within the context of a process. What you then need is connectors or APIs in between those apps and with their repositories to manage everything and to be able to, for instance, search on everything. So this content integration service bus is an I think for the future an essential part of every enterprise architecture. So Documentum and the future. So taking Documentum and OpenText. First, some of their application software in the stack. Of course, we know, I know, you know, probably Content Server. I think it's a very good enterprise skilled enterprise content management product, already part of the OpenText suite, of course. They also have eDocs. I know that quite well because I started my ECM times with this product. Also part of OpenText stack, of course. What is actually quite overlapping with the content server product is of course the Documentum repository with their interfaces like D2 or XCP. This is I will go into this later on later slides how we see this developing in OpenText now. Another important product for the acquisition, I think, is Leap. This is really the content application platform for which can work on different repositories. Now, of course, Documentum. This really fits in the picture I drew before with the content services and content application, a integration layer, different repositories. I think this is really the product where OpenText will focus on because it's ready for the future. And then InfoArchive, a bit separate from the real enterprise content management products, but a very good product and completely missing in the OpenText stack. So this is a very important product and a very good product, I think, and also a big part of why they acquired it, I think. So it's going to be mostly focused on InfoArchive and Leap, I think if you look at the future of the Documentum stack within OpenText, of course the Documentum repository will remain. It's a large install base, but for development it's going to be Leap, I guess. More in detail, our thoughts on the suite and acquisition. So like I mentioned, very valuable additions is InfoArchive. It's really a missing link in their total proposition. Leap has great potential. Of course, it hasn't. I mean, I haven't really seen it yet live or as part of a solution, but as it is described, it can be really great, and it's really ready for where we're going. So Tempo, the enterprise file sync and share solution of OpenText, probably is not going to make it, and I never saw it really implemented. Of course, also Captiva is very interesting for OpenText because it didn't really have a capturing intelligent scanning solution. Document Sciences might be valuable also, but of course they have other output management solutions out there. Then about integration. Sorry, I'm just looking at some questions coming in. Integration, talking about integration. I think integration between Leap and a new content repository, content server, will be a big focus. Of course, there will be a focus on Leap anyway, I think, because that really is the future. Don't really see the need to integrate Documentum and Content Server on its own, and that's also because of this Leap product out there, that platform. And also integration did not really drive OpenText in the past. I remember very well eDocs and Content Server, and the only push there was a replace. However, also that did not really work. Then talking about integration, can InfoFusion play a role here? I don't think that is going to happen because it's more connecting to analyze and e-discover than really a integration platform. Other thoughts on the suite? The marketing verticals are of course the market verticals are of course very interesting for OpenText. Documentum was very strong in engineering, healthcare, and financials. They built some specific solutions on that. Strong in regulatory environments. So very interesting to get that market. Of course, also on the positive side, Documentum is now part of a core EIM or ECM vendor and could or should get the focus it deserves. And now what about XCP, Webtop, D2? So if you talk about XCP, Accelerated Composition Platform, and other interfaces, I then tend to think about Leap, and I think that will get the focus. So defining processes, defining services, defining applications around content, I think that will all be Leap. So that will be the go-to solution for the future, and it really fits the future. Of course, still a large install base on Webtop and XCP applications and D2, so support will remain for the coming years, but I think real development will not be made on that area. So still a move towards Leap will be expected. And what OpenText says is a little bit in line with that. So their plans are strategic, so to create a stronger, more complete portfolio, which is what they did. They're continuing to provide support for the OpenText suite and the Documentum portfolio. Of course, support and doing some necessary development will be there, but I think the focus will really be on Leap. And as they say, the plans are bold, so they're really going for the next generation content services, content applications with the Leap platform. And I think that is really great, and I'm very excited to see where this can go to as a platform. What I also got from their site, this is from the integration part. So they refer to, probably it's an old text, I don't know if it's still there, but this was there 2 weeks ago. They refer to EMC, Documentum, as a legacy ECM repository. So this makes you see how they looked at it. Of course, this could be commercial talk. So knowing this, what to do now if you have a Documentum installation running with an XCP built application. So regarding this old Documentum stack, we identify 3 scenarios. You can do nothing. You can migrate, but then how? Or you could integrate even, but then how? So let's talk about those. And when I talk about the migrate and integrate, I will also focus on more general how you would migrate to Leap or other or integrate Leap or other file sync and share solutions. So of course you can do nothing. I think that would be a bit of a risk because the uncertainty of the future of Documentum, although of course the repository will probably stay for quite some time, and also Webtop and other solutions around Documentum will be supported. The real focus won't be on it, so there's a risk in the continuity on that. Also, it's really an opportunity. You should really use the momentum to make a change towards future needs, and you're missing out on that if you don't do anything. It does give you time to wait for OpenText to really work out and prove a strategy. So if you don't want to be a front runner, maybe you can wait a while, but it's always a risk to wait too long. So migrate, moving away from Documentum. What this means is we see this as an opportunity to improve your content management. Not that Documentum isn't good, but if you already if you move away or even go to Leap and leave Documentum as a repository, you can always reassess, revalue, and even improve your metadata and stuff like that. So migration, we always see it as an opportunity. If you created applications in for instance XCP or processes in D2, this is an opportunity if Leap is mature enough to move towards Leap, create the applications in Leap, and have a architecture ready for the future. Yeah, so because there will be focus on Leap and less development on Documentum. So why should you stay? Of course, migration is possible to OpenText Content Server, other new systems. That's all. If you really want to migrate, this is our migration architecture or approach, you could say. Well, no, this is an architecture. So you have a source, have a target, or you have multiple sources or multiple targets. We have default or out-of-the-box connectors to all major systems. We have UDM, stands for a Unified Data Model, which you can customize for your own environment. But there's always one central data model where everything goes through. So this could also be a next step towards integration actually. So a connector maps towards the UDM and maps out of it towards the target. That's basically what a migration is, and then we have some enhancement modules. So auto classification, we can use business rules to enrich, or deduplications to get duplicate content out of there or identify versions. So this is how we do a migration. And the proven approach using this architecture is we extract, and when we extract we analyze. So we analyze on the quantity and the quality of the content to really make a better a better planning for the migration to follow. Next step is selection. You possibly don't want to take everything, so you can select what you want to take. Then mapping. where does it have to go to, mapping of metadata, mapping of content itself, enrichment, using the modules, adding metadata, auto-classifying on document types, stuff like that. Then putting all those rules we created in the 3 phases into transformation, run the transformation, and then import, and if necessary in Delta runs. So this is how we approach all the hundreds of migrations we have done. And we really think it's important, if you do a migration, to add value. So don't just pick it up, lift and shift, and pick it up and put it in the target. Now take the opportunity to reassess, to add metadata, to just add value in general. And the platform we built is ensuring that you're in control, that you have an audit trail and logging, and that you're really flexible in doing the migration. So you can add another source if necessary. You can get some data out of a database if necessary. Next, integrate Documentum. So say you have a Documentum installation with some processes defined. It's not. It might be not necessary to throw it away or to migrate, because the process might be part of a very structured process. So some incoming mail, or I don't know, systems, e-portals that drop documents in Documentum, very automated. Like the M-Files example, it might be interesting to integrate. So you have maybe Leap, or maybe another file sync and share solution, or maybe another enterprise content management solution, and you're working in that for all the other processes, but you don't want to, because maybe the legal and compliancy rules are all in Documentum. You don't want to get rid of it, but just use it as a repository. Then that's a use case for integration. And when you do integrate, then you integrate it as a repository just to have access. However, if you do, you're ready for the future. If you build up a integration layer, so start this as a concept within your architecture, you have other opportunities. So you can go for the one access point for content, different access points for different user groups, so they only have one access point. Central archiving, right? Probably, maybe even in Documentum. So create, really make the central archive of that, with a lot of content applications where content is created and managed, going towards it, but through a integration layer. Enterprise search, another use case that is very interesting, because enterprise search, of course, you want to find everything within your enterprise, and they have their connectors, but it's not their strong point. So why not have an integration layer and identify all the sources there that need to be extracted, and have some optimization, have it all put to one data model, so your faceted search is optimal. Well, a lot of opportunities in this concept of an integration layer or content services bus around content. Of course, when you integrate, migration will often be a part of this. There's always some consolidation needed. Maybe not, but often it is. So specifically, it was also in the invite, how do we integrate solutions as Box and Dropbox? We already have our default out-of-the-box connectors on that. Why? Because really enterprise file sync and share is there to stay. We see a growing demand for integration, because departments or parts of organizations started working with it, created a very simple process in it, doing their projects in it, and they just don't want to get rid of it. However, compliancy or completeness of files or dossiers or access, that requires that there is an integration. So we are on different levels. we already have integrations running with Dropbox, and more enterprise, well, not more enterprise, more old ECM kind of solutions like OpenText, like IBM FileNet, like SharePoint. Yeah, and drivers can be that you want to be in control or you want to optimize your process. So because of the unified data model, we are making it possible to integrate very quickly. Everything is transformed to that data model. There's an ETL process in place to do all kinds of ETL processes, of course. Enrichment is possible. It's very scalable and flexible. So quickly looking at the platform, I'll be very quick on this. This is how it's built up. The flexibility really comes from our own language, Xillio, with our own integrated development environment. We built our connectors in this. We built our transformation and mapping scripts in this. So it's always easy to add one or to edit or to look at them and change some properties. Then we have the unified data model. It's used for making it easy to integrate, to have our connectors are all default mapping towards the unified data model. Then the server, it's really the runtime, it's a scheduler, some user management, and our logging is within there. So you can schedule the connectors, you can schedule synchronizations, transformations, you can schedule anything that is created with our IDE. And then some modules. So we have the deduplicator and versioning that really looks at the content of a document and can dedupe or identify versions. We use it a lot in migrations from file shares to more managed solutions. And we have the auto classification module, which makes it possible to train the system to identify certain documents and then label them as such. Well, and they're all plugins on the platform, so we are developing more, and even partners are developing modules on this platform. So that's quickly what it is. We have a lot of default connectors, out-of-the-box connectors already. Here's some. So you see Documentum and OpenText are definitely part of that. And also file sync and share solutions, open source ECM solutions like Xillio, and a lot of web content management solutions as well. So any web content management, any enterprise content management solution, we will have a connector for it. So to summarize what this webinar was about, really the ECM market is really shifting, and we see now is the time to act. And this is also in line with what happened with the acquisition of Documentum by OpenText and development of Leap. This really is where the market is going. So you will have content applications with content services with an integration layer and several repositories on site or in the cloud. So OpenText will move towards Leap. Content Server and Documentum will probably be really handled in the future as just repositories. XCP, Webtop and D2, of course they will keep having support, but probably no development focus. I think you should use this Monumentum if you are in Documentum. Use this acquisition to make a strategic choice. If you want to migrate, use this then strategically again to improve your processes and content quality. Bottom line, it's now time to move towards an integrated content environment, and it could be Leap or not, but the content integration part is very important to be ready for the future and stay agile as an organization. This was it. I've seen at least 2 questions come in. Let me check, go to the chat. So yes, this was the webinar. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions now, please share them through the chat. I will go to two of them. First is, yeah, what would you really advise? Migrate or integrate? Of course, that's kind of a difficult question because it depends on your situation. If you really have a well-implemented Documentum repository, having records management present and using it for some really structured processes, I would suggest you integrate and you go towards Leap and make it available. You go towards another solution and make it available. If you do not, or if you have a, sorry, I'm reading other questions. if you have a really a solution developed in it, I would suggest also to go to Leap, but maybe wait a little bit for this to be ready more, to have proven more. Yeah, so if that person can write an email, because it's really we have seen a lot of implementations and have seen a lot, and it's really dependent on what your exact situation is. Sorry, another question. Is the Xillio language meant for our developers to learn in order to use? I'm currently, yeah. So the Xillio language is it's a scripting language. So you can definitely use it as a developer. It's more high level. You can compare it to JavaScript or PHP even. Of course, you can use the default connectors when you buy it, but yeah, the platform is really delivered with developer seats, so with IDEs where you can develop your own migration or integration solutions. I hope this answers. There was one more, right? Okay, no, this is it. There was one. How long do you think OpenText will keep maintaining support for current Webtop offering? Yeah, good question. I think it will at least be 2-3 years. 2 or 3 years. I think actually 3. Yeah, definitely. Because it's also interesting for them, of course, right? So the revenue and the support licenses. So they will have that for a while, but there will be a move towards other solutions. But it won't be within 3 years. Okay.
I think that's it, Sjoerd.
Yes.
If you have any questions, you can send them to webinar@xillio.com. Is it?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Sjoerd, thank you. I just want to let you know that we will send the presentation to you, everybody. We recorded it, so you can review it again. And well, thank you all for joining, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye all.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.